I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 29th, where we've got strength in our beef markets. Nearly every product that makes up your box beef cutout values, every cut, every piece of meat that they have on there is trading near a high for their trading range, including our cow meat, everything. We've got outstanding beef demand at every level there, and this time of year it's really showing a lot of strength. We're in a 6-week rally here on our fat cattle. They've been going up a little bit every week, and sometimes we see, you know, $2 to $3 gains. Sometimes it's just steady to $1 here and there, but continuing to see improvement there. Our board live cattle futures especially has been showing a lot of strength, just staving off pressure from every direction and everything that comes along. It might hold it up a little bit, but does not take it down, and we continue to see gains there. We're continuing to see funds invest in your live cattle futures market, and it's all positive, looking good there. I think we have a lot of reason to be bullish as we continue out this year. Sure, we're going to have a pullback here or there, and folks are kind of getting ready for that, kind of a springboard pullback, or kind of like on your pinball tables when you get ready to take off there. But we're kind of looking for that pullback a little bit. But then I think as we move on into next year, and especially into next spring that's coming up here, we've got a lot of reasons to be bullish. Your cattle on feed report come out on Friday. Absolutely neutral, well within the ranges and very near what the average of the analyst guess was. I did kind of think that the placements would be lighter than that, because we didn't see a lot of cattle moving. We didn't see much of a calf run at all really in September. Just they all seem to come here just the last 2 or 3 weeks, but that's what they come out with, and we'll take neutral because it didn't affect anything that happened on Monday. Was out in Kansas, at Newton, Kansas Cattlemen's Association convention there over the weekend. Met a lot of nice people there, well diversified group there, and just kind of you know, out for the industry, not out for against anybody per se, and was glad to be a part of that group there. Everybody was relishing the K-State victory against OU. You know, saying one for the good guys. We're always rooting for the underdog. Nothing against you OU fans, but just don't understand how you people that are interested in this report can root for a school that doesn't have an ag department. But let's talk about your board for Monday to open the week. Live cattle futures up 90 cents at 112.87. December up 52 at 116.60. So pretty strong there. And continued strong throughout the rest of the traded months there. October feeder cattle down a little bit, down 30, with a lot of pressure from all these calves that continue to come. 145.40. November up 35 cents at 145.72, but very uneven as you went through the rest of your traded months on your feeder cattle futures. But let's talk about your weighted average on last week's negotiated fat cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region. We continue to see, ever since the fire, of course it's been going this way for years and years and years, but ever since the fire at Holcomb, Kansas at Tyson Fresh Meats, we've just seen considerably fewer cattle sell negotiated cash in your 5-area feeding region. Last week it was 72,400. That compared to just 63,100 a week ago. But you go back the same week a year ago, it was 131,000. So just selling a fraction of what we were selling not that long ago. Negotiated cash in your 5-area feeding region, which just means less leverage and harder to take advantage. Yeah, we've seen a rally here in the last 6 weeks, and I think we've got room for more good things to come over the next 6 months. But if we don't have any leverage, how are we going to take advantage of it? But your live prices on fat steers and heifers in your 5 areas range from 108 to 112, mostly 110. By and large, it was 110. And your live steer weighted average price in your 5-area feeding region was 110.13. That was up 40 cents compared to the previous week. And you think, how in the world was it only up 40 cents when all of your Southern Plains cattle, Kansas and Texas, were fully $2 higher? at 110 being just 108 the previous week. And it just goes to show you there's just not that many cattle selling negotiated cash in your southern plains in Texas and Kansas. It's mostly corporate feeders there. They don't sell any cattle negotiated cash. Some of your big family operations do, but it's just not enough. In the northern plains, you have so many more feeders, and if they just sell a few, it adds up to be a lot more, and kind of takes over your weighted average there. And your northern plains was mostly steady, spots a buck higher, but mostly steady. So that's how you come up with just gaining 40 cents on your weighted average on live steers. On dressed steers and heifers, your price range was from 171 to 176, mostly 175. And that was mostly steady in the northern plains. So your weighted average on dressed steers was 174.56. Make a note, your dressed heifer weighted average was almost 175. So it was in there really tight, was steady at 175. But that 174.56 weighted average on dressed steers was up just 25 cents. So we didn't see as big a gain as what we really felt like we saw just on the raw numbers. But nationwide, we sold 83,600 head for the whole nation negotiated cash, which is nothing. We used to rarely see a week where we sold that few in the 5 areas, let alone the whole nation. But about 12,200 head of those were for the 2 to 4 week delivery, and that makes up about 15%, which is less than we've seen the last couple of weeks. One thing of note that I would like to talk about is we've been talking about Colorado and extreme western Nebraska and some of those Wyoming areas in there been selling at a premium because they're light of market ready numbers right there, and they're also getting demand from way out west. They're pulling some cattle that way, and they've been selling on Saturday the last 2 or 3 weeks here, and we really didn't hear what those cattle brought through the bulk of the week last week and into Friday. But then over the weekend, did hear private sources talking about, they were pushing away 112 bids, because they were getting that in Nebraska. And in the Colorado areas and extreme western areas, we're brushing off the 112 bids. And then did hear on Saturday from private sources that they sold some cattle from 112 and a half, and on Monday I even heard from private sources that are very reliable that they'd heard of a deal or two at 113. But when mandatory price reporting come out with the markets for all of last week, all the way through until Monday, we didn't see any of that. We saw 112 as the extreme top there. And you just wonder where those prices were. Did they not happen? Did somebody make them up? I don't think so. People don't just go out there and say they sold cattle for 112 and a half or 113 when they didn't do it. But it's more likely that when your packers, they're the ones that enter that information in the mandatory price reporting system there, they slapped a flag on them or slapped a variable premium or discount or something like that on them, and it keeps those cattle from being straight up negotiated cash, keeps them from reporting. And it's really easy to do that in Colorado because confidentiality limits anything from showing on what's going on in Colorado. That's our area of the 5 areas. We really don't know what's going on as far as being confirmed because of the confidentiality rules, which they put those in place when they started mandatory price reporting because they didn't want to divulge what one entity is doing, one pack or one feedlot like that. But in Colorado, the confidentiality rules limit the reporting there because there's just not enough players in it. You don't have enough negotiated sellers, and you don't have enough packers that are actively involved in the trade every week. Once in a great while you see them print, but that's where all these premiums have been being paid. But it still should show up on our 5 area reports, but they're not showing up for one reason or the other. And maybe it is because somebody's saying that they got 113 and they didn't get 113, but kind of makes it hard to keep your momentum going into the next week when you don't get your extreme high quoted. But I mentioned that our beef markets are surging. We saw huge gains last week on your box beef cutout values. Your 90s, your fresh 90s, which is basically your leanest cow meat, which is what they make a lot of the highest dollar hamburger meat out of, which is a little suspect to me, because if you see the leanest of the lean cows, they're not always the ones that look the most tasty to me. And I would a lot rather have trimmings off of a young steer or heifer. But you guys note, if you ever sell beeves, feed your own cattle and then sell them to your friends and neighbors, you don't hear them talk about how great the steaks are, because you get a steak even at Walmart. You can get choice certified Angus beef at Walmart or Sam's. It's pretty darn good. You know what it's coming off of. It's something coming off something young that's got marbling and it's got good taste. But your cow meat that you get in your grocery stores, a lot of it comes from aged cows and bulls. And so if you kill a steer or heifer, or have one slaughtered and packaged in a local processing plant there, or a locker plant, and then sell it to your friends and neighbors, people that aren't used to really getting that, you normally hear them comment about the hamburger the most. They say, "Oh my gosh, the hamburger meat is so sweet. I just love it." That's because it's all coming off of something young instead of something old. But it's like a lot of things in your cattle and beef industry, they go against each other. Everybody thinks they want really lean hamburger meat. Well, that's coming off of a really lean carcass, and those are a lot of your slow cows, your really emaciated cows and things like that. But the heck of it is, as well as that cow meat is selling, it takes a heck of a cow to bring 50 cents a lot of places. Why is that? It goes right along with doing too much spring calving. I always preach, you guys coming in hear my talks, I'm always talking about that, and on here too. We've got too many spring calvers. Everybody wants to calve in a snowbank and then try to raise those babies up through the winter, and then they try to move it up a little bit more every year so they can have the biggest calves weaned off of them. But we need more fall calvers, and we need more people to get out of step, because everybody's preg checking right now, and everybody's culling cows. Well, your cow packers are just swelled with cows, and not all of them are going through the sales. Those big ranches, they sell their out cows direct, and they are filling up our cow plants, guys. And I've got friends that are cow buyers. They may be sitting in the seats, but their plants really don't want any more cows. They don't have a place for them, really. And then you see some of those people that are in the know, and some of those cow plants buying some of those cheaper cows, putting them on feed, and then moving them through the plant around the holidays or after you see the big glut of cows. But we got a big glut of calves right now that we can't choke down. Got a big glut of packer cows right now that we can't choke down. And I've said it many times, 65% of our calves are born in the first half of the year. And you think, well, 65%, that doesn't sound that bad, until you look at the flip side. Only 35% of our calves are born in the second half of the year. And that's why we've got the best demand for those calves that are born in the fall. But let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late in the day on Monday at 143.52, up 7 cents from the end of last week, and holding its own pretty well. Had a lot of big sales on Monday. Like I've said before, your true yearling feeder cattle, they are selling the best because they're the ones that feed the best. Not only that, but those are the cattle that are heaviest in weight, and they also are going to put weight on a lot quicker, and they're going to do a lot better in the feedlot, and they've got the better chance of being able to hedge and finish those cattle out, even at the heavier weights we like to take them to nowadays in April. You got a big calf, weighing in the high 6s and 7s, and it's not going to feed as well, it's not going to gain near as well, and probably not going to make the April board. Well, you look at the disparage between your April board and your June board, and you see why guys can't give that much for them. There's just not enough there for them to hedge. But you look at Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyard, 7,100 head there. Feeder steers, 6 to 800 pounds, and those are really your feeder calves. Your lighter feeder steers, which are mostly calves, steady to $2 lower, which is typical, but your heavier feeder steers, mostly true yearlings weighing over 8, fully $2 higher, and that just goes along with what I just said. Feeder heifers $1 to $5 higher, and a lot of those heifers will finish out quicker, and then they don't take them to as heavy weights, which helps the price on them. And there was just better demand from your heifer buyers on Monday in Oklahoma City there. Weaned calves, the market reporter said they sold from $3 to $11 higher, and your weaned heifer calves were really sharply higher there. But your unweaned calves, even though they sold well compared to last week, it was just mostly steady, because there's a limited number of outlets where you can send those unweaned calves, because most of those outlets are busy doctoring calves right now, and they can only take so many of them. Look at some other sales around. Faith, South Dakota, Faith Livestock Commission, 4,300 head. You look at the automated market report here from Cattle Market Central, and I looked at the trend on those, and your steer calves were kind of steady to $5 higher. Heifer calves there steady to $4 lower, and that's typical of farmer feeder backgrounders and farmer feeders up in that part of the country. They prefer steers, and that's where most of your orders were coming from. But look at some of these weighted averages on your best tested weights of steers. 1,262 head of 5-weight steers, average 546 at 162.85. That's about as high as you'll see the average price on those, and that was more than $5 higher than just last week. And then 837 head of the 6-weight steers, average 638 at 155.38. And you'd be hard pressed to get your 5-weights to average that in most sales. But Faith, South Dakota had a heck of a sale. Joplin Regional Stockyards, your other big high volume Monday sale, 6,100 head there, and it was some lower. Yearling feeders, conservative call there was steady to $2 lower. Calves steady to $4 lower. If you guys want to get some of those cattle and get some of those order bought cattle there, kind of put together cattle, they got a lot of tested weights there, including your peewee calves all the way up to a hard yearling, and commodity cattle and cattle good enough to go north with, whatever you want right there in Joplin. And you can call and order in there. You can get on dvauction.com and bid on the cattle yourself. You can call Wes Spinks, my buddy there that I've talked about, that buys and puts cattle together there, and he was telling me about a couple of loads of 4-weight steers that were weaned that he put together, you know, in the 140s there. And not just in Joplin, but in a lot of those sales in southern and western Missouri. But look at some other sale barns that had big sales. And like I said, a lot of cattle moving on Monday. Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. I've been talking about them because they're a new broadcaster for DV Auction. They broadcasted their first sale on the internet on Monday, had several bids come in, a lot of people watching, and it's just bringing some more attention to them, and it's a good thing there, and for what it costs, it's well worth it. But 2,200 head there at Callaway on Monday. The market was near steady with heavier receipts there, and so good sale there. And they had a lot of true yearling cattle. They had a lot of weaned calves that had been weaned and turned back out, and that's what guys really want. But Russell, Iowa, Russell Livestock, 3,600 head there, and compared to their last sale, which was 2 weeks ago, they were mostly steady. But look at this one quote on 8-weight feeder steers. 60 head of 839-pound steers bring 154 and a quarter. You won't see that anywhere but up there where you get farmer feeder demand. They had huge sales. Winter Livestock had 2 big specials on Monday, or sales that don't normally sell then. But Pratt Livestock, Winter Livestock and Pratt, 3,400 head for their calf special. They had a calf special last Monday too, on top of their regular Thursday sale. Lahana, Colorado, Winter Livestock there, 6,500 head plus. They had 5,300 head of feeders a week ago there. So lots of cattle moving through your auction markets right now. Look at your high quote on lighter calves. Martin, South Dakota, Martin Livestock Auction. And that's another one of those with the farmer feeder demand. But 90 head of 579-pound steer calves in Martin, South Dakota, 176.50. Whoo! that is the highest I've seen this fall. So your calf market is coming up, especially when you get your big slugs of 1-iron ranch calves in there. It's coming up some. I know it's not like it was in 2014, probably never going to get there again, but it is coming up, and you've got to do the work. You got to have the reputation, which is the main thing, to be able to get your calves to bring that kind of money. And there's two kinds of reputations, just like the girls in high school. Remember that. Sylvan Sales Commission, Sylvan Grove, Kansas, the little market with the big prices. And I don't say little market in size. When I say a little market or a big market, I'm talking about the volume of sales coming in. But Sylvan keeps selling cattle as high as this. They're not going to be a little market very long. But Sylvan Livestock Sales Commission there, Sylvan Grove, Kansas, 82 head, 653 pound steers, 164. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.